Hello everyone, and thank you for being here at ComputEL-5's special session. I, Harshita, am representing our team's work today, and our work is aimed at relaying our learnings of collaboratively developing a variety of language technologies with a diverse set of low-resource communities. Our interactions with these communities have been motivated by a very well-established fact that a large proportion of living languages are endangered today. While an encouragingly large number of efforts are being directed towards language revitalization, we can all benefit from a collective understanding of how to best work across disciplinary and cultural boundaries. Hence, in this work, we distill our experiential learnings from building language technologies in such ecosystems. So, just for a bit of context setting, our collaborations are all ongoing efforts with the following communities. Gondi. So, Gondi is a language of the Dravidian family, and it is currently spoken by approximately 2.3 million tribal people in South and Central India. Our collaboration with this community has resulted in the development of several short term artifacts, such as a bilingual dictionary, a digital content repository, translated storybooks for children, and as well as like long term technologies, such as a machine translation system between Gondi and Hindi, which is another high resource language in India. Then another set of our interactions are derived with building with the Mundari community. Mundari is a language of the Austro-Asiatic origin and it has around 1 million speakers. Collectively, we have developed an educational app for the community, and currently we're cooperating on the efforts of constructing a rule-based text-to-speech system for the community. Finally, another set of developments have arisen from our collaboration with the Idumishmi community. Idumishmi is a Sino-Tibetan language which has only about 11,000 speakers, and our interactions here have been mutually decided to generate a bilingual dictionary and a repository of translated folk tales for both the audio and text modality. So, first lesson begins to draw from the point that we must balance investing in communities' immediate needs and the long-term artifacts that can, achieve some long-term objective. So, investing in potentially short-term needs, yet immediate needs, is critical. So, to explain with an example, while we were developing with the Gondi community, we invested in the development of both immediately usable artifacts, such as a dictionary, children's storybooks, and a digital content app called Adivasi Radio, while carrying out the data collection for our long-term objective, that was to build a machine translation system. So this gave the community evidence of our intent fairly early on in what would be like a long-term interaction, and more importantly, help them familiarize themselves with us and the process of working with each other. We also noted in this case that the community must lead the decision of where this technological intervention should lie while we're trying to create this balance. So, for instance, with the Idumishmi community, this community explicitly called for the development of technology that would supplement educational goals. And accordingly, any efforts aimed to help them achieve this urgent objective were our first priority, with any long term goals taking a backseat. Our next lesson deems that having trusted, community oriented partners is imperative for achieving the goals of language revitalization. On one hand, these collaborators identify the need for the technological intervention and become critical to establishing a trust dynamic between all stakeholders. On another hand, these partners are trusted within the larger community and hence they provide a channel for sustained long term interactions with the community even after the language technologists exit. So, who these partners are can vary greatly depending upon the socio-technical ecosystem of the community. So, for instance, they could be an on-ground organization. In our case, CGNet Swara, which was the on-ground partner for our work with Gondi, they set up interactions with the community. They identified participants for the data collection process and even arranged workshops to facilitate the community's understanding of the entire data collection process. On slightly divergent lines, for Idumishmi, the Idumishmi Culture and Language Society, which consisted of very trusted community leaders, they relayed the community's collective interest to us, and also transparently communicated our intentions to the language community in addition to the process of working. Finally, for Mundari, linguistic scholars who had had a long association with the language and its community supported our effort in the language technology deployment. Thus, our point that credible partners in whatever capacity or shape are critical to the inception, facilitation, and sustained consumption of the generated language technology. Our next lesson is grounded in the idea that even though building a language technology that the community needs already stands as the primary incentive for community members to participate in the language technology's development, such long-term deliverables are often not sufficient incentive for the sustained contribution or the continuous contribution of the community during the technology's development. So let's take another example here. During the translation data collection for Gondi, many participants of the community wanted to be given stories or informative articles on culture and history so that they could derive educational or entertainment benefits from their assigned microtasks. Such an instance indicated that non-fiscal but continuous mode of incentivization was also required. And while it may not always be possible to provide such incentives, it is still very important to prepare our incentivization scheme, bearing in mind that there might be multiple incentives that can be operating simultaneously, non-fiscal and fiscal, or incentives that can work in multiple different contexts for the same community. Another point to note here is that each stakeholder may be expected to respond to very different kinds of incentives. Where an on-ground partner would benefit from supplementary funding and publicity of their work, a language technologist motivation might also be invested in contributing to knowledge sharing via publications centered around their interactions with the community. In such a scenario, a key factor affecting the quality of the partnership during any intervention would be how well all stakeholders are able to reconcile these often very divergent motivations. So, this reconciliation could involve action around the motivation, discussions around like the motivations of each stakeholder, what deliverables and methods aligned with the presented motivations, and finally, a work plan, which would allow all stakeholders to work towards like this pool of motivations in a collaborative fashion. It also must be noted that this reconciliation is critical in establishing a mutual respect and appreciation of each stakeholder's role in the technology's development. Through this, each member should be able to get a high level understanding of the idea of how all participating members have actually something to gain from the collaboration, and neither parties is like obligated to the other party for their contribution. Our penultimate lesson is based on the dual objective of maximizing the task specific goals of a collaboration as well as the experience of all participating community members. So, for this objective to be achieved, it is imperative that language technologists opt for a platform of interaction that is well suited to the community. As a case, WhatsApp, a well known instant messaging service, was also one of the channels used for Gondi data collection. Instead of using a more specific crowdsourcing service, we actually attempted to repurpose an application that had already been accepted into the community. Adivasi Radio, which was another application that had been in circulation in the community for over 6 months, had been another such channel that gave us very significant data yield. So these channels had the advantage of having easier scalability and, more significantly, induced a much lower cognitive overload on the participating members. And I mean, note that these choices of platforms must obviously be modeled depending upon the community of focus. For instance, data collection for the Idumishmi collaboration had to primarily depend upon offline methods due to the unavailability of internet in most regions. But overall, all such parameters, including the resources the community has sustained access to, their technical exposure, how much time they're willing to devote, and those kinds of things, are all used as the community's participation potential. And evaluating this potential can make the choice of our platform a much simpler decision. So our final lesson calls for the agreement of all stakeholders on the process, the purpose, and the expected performance of the language technology. So we strongly believe that even unintentionally miscommunicating or letting the community have a bloated view of what the technology can achieve runs the risk of not only disrupting existing or ongoing technical collaborations, they can also degrade the quality of any future partnerships, since a series of failed expectations on the community side might severely limit or damage their ability to trust another technologist who comes to their community in the future with a good intent. So one of the ways that we've seen that this clarity can be achieved is to involve community members in the iterative evaluations of the technology. In Gondi, we found that involving the community in the evaluation of the machine translation model encouraged all stakeholders to continue their engagement because, one, they saw improvement or constant improvement towards like a usable system. And at the same time, their feedback made us, as well as them, aware that our service would not be able to handle all dialects equally because we just did not have the data distribution for all dialects. So, in addition to this, like we also noticed that sometimes having a clear documentation with minimal jargon dependence and a brief view of the data pre-processing and language modeling with possible limitations of the technological intervention can help, especially when we're relaying information to our on-ground partners, etc. So, such steps would strengthen the foundation of the collaboration by avoiding mismatch between the intent, the expectations, and then the outcomes of the process that the community members are consenting to contribute to. With this, we come to the end of our most concrete lessons of collaboratively building language technology. We hope to see you at the panel where we aim to discuss different dimensions of defining the goals, the expectations, the feasibility of different paradigms of developing language technologies, and different modes of incentivizations while working with these communities. And yeah, hope to see you there. Thank you.